Hello, everybody. How are we all doing? It's never a dull week following Rangers Football Club, is it? One of our worst ever European results. We'll talk about that. New possible managers. We'll talk about that. But more importantly, we will take your phone calls. As this is your, I was going to say Monday, as this is your Friday night Rangers Rabble phone in. So if you want to get on the show, it's very, very simple. All you need to do is call 0141 628 7237. And if you get a weird dialing tone, don't worry about it. Robert's on the phones all the way from Turkey. So if you get that international dialing tone, don't worry. You'll still get through to Robert and you'll get through to the show. No problem. So 0141 628 7237. Call up now and you could be the first one on the show. Tonight, I am joined by my two dogs, and Brian, Kerr, and James. Brian, my friend, how are you?
Yeah, been better, obviously, but here we are. Be interested to see what everybody's thoughts on the phones are tonight and that debacle last night in the managers situation. So, yeah, looking forward to this one.
I'm glad you're looking forward to it. Kerr, how are you doing?
I'm all right, Martin. At hospital all day, so I'm back in the house now, so I'm actually feeling a bit better, but I'm actually all right.
That's two all rights. I've got a funny feeling the third one won't be. James, how are you doing?
Still raging after last night, mate. It's unforgivable, mate, and I'm so glad I wasn't on last night with these guys because I think I'd have got you shut down the way I was shouting and calling at the telly last night. But hey ho, on to Sunday and bring on something.
Yes. If you're not that interested in phoning, but you still want to get your point across, please make sure that you get your comments in, and I will try and get as many comments up as I possibly can. Head us straight in with the comments. Chris Jack just said Lampard not involved in final interview stages. Kerr, Lampard was a name that we were hearing quite a lot of. A few people who have got some stuff right in the past said that Lampard looks set to be the new manager. And all I could think to myself was, the board are going to appoint somebody, whether he works or he doesn't. Obviously remains to be seen. But surely they can't be that out of touch that they would go for Frank Lampard.
Hopefully not, Martin, but by all accounts he's out of running now. But to be honest with you, I don't know who's going to be appointed. I still think it will be Muscat, but I probably will be wrong. But whoever it is, I'm going to go and support him anyway. It's what we do, and if it goes pear-shaped, then we start to criticise again. But I think Frank looks an easy option just because it's Frank Lampard, and you think, well, he's a big name, blah, 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 but his last two jobs, he's been awful, to be honest with you. Unless you get the guy that was at Derby all the years ago, you wouldn't even need him. So, no, I'm happy he's not in the running anymore. I think we need somebody who comes in who's got a wee bit more experience and somebody who can actually get these players to listen.
Well, yeah, that was very evident last night, and we've all come to that. Just very quickly, Beat Bot Boop, 199 Super Chat, thank you very much. Muscat or bust, we can't pass up this opportunity. We'll come to that in a wee second, but we do have Christopher from Falkirk on the line who wants to ask why we can't, I think he wants to ask anyway, why can't we give youth a chance? Christopher, how are you?
Hi, good evening, everybody. How is everybody?
I've been better, Christopher. I have been much better. How are you? Hello?
I was going to say, in regards to about giving youth a chance, why can't we give youth a chance? If we can't give youth a chance in times of adversity, how are we going to give youth a chance if we start getting back to normal, winning trophies, etc., etc.? So when is the time to give youth a chance? Like, for example, Liverpool gave John Flanagan his debut against Manchester City. Bojan, he got his debut at 17. If they're good enough, they're young enough, give them a chance. And if they are sink or swim, and at the end of the day, they'll give you endeavour, they'll give you hard work. They might be a wee bit naive at times, but at least they'll give their all and they'll give 100% effort, unlike some of the players that's currently being fielded at the minute.
Excellent point, Christopher. And look, James, after that performance last night, you could play the under eights. For me, there is so many of the players that should not wear a Rangers top again. And this is something that we've been shouting about for a long time. You know, Christopher says give youth a chance. We've been wanting to give youth a chance for years. And like he says, which is actually a really good point, if we can't put them in now, when will we?
It's one of these things, though, mate. But it's the demands that are put on our players for me. Look, I've obviously not seen a lot of Bailey Rice, but what I have seen from him, what I've heard obviously for you guys that obviously follow the kind of B team and stuff like that, I obviously said that the boy's an absolute tremendous talent. So look, play him. If he can't do it against St Mirren, he's never going to do it for Rangers. But we as a club, see if we still had Billy Gilmore, we'd have him out and loan at Alloa or Falkirk or something to say, oh, he needs to get game time when the boy can run games for us. So give him a chance, as you said, Martin. There's guys there last night that should never kick a ball for me. Again, Lundstrom for one. The guy looked as if he was pulling a cart, trying to chase that boy back for the second goal. Instead of trying to foul him or something, he just doesn't do anything at all. So I would start Bailey Rice. I maybe no play 4, 5, 6 of the youth team. I would maybe give one or two a go and see how they go, because I thought the boy McCausland looked actually quite good last night. He looked as if he's a kind of pacey, direct kind of winger. Something that we don't have. Scott Wright kind of flatters to deceive for me. So give him a chance as well and just let him go. And, you know what I mean? Because you've seen boys like Wayne Rooney, and I'm not comparing these youth players that we've got to kind of like a Wayne Rooney, not at all. But as Christopher says, they get in there with no fear. Let them just go and play. And what's the worst that can happen? We're already doing in the dumps now as it is. So go and give these guys a chance and see what can happen.
Just before I let you go, Christopher, who would be your preference for manager, or do you not care as long as he's just got enough experience?
What I would do is I would put Neil Warnock in to the end of the season, and then I would look. Hopefully, Neil Warnock can maybe do a patch-up job to make the job look a wee bit more attractive. Then maybe make a move at the end of the season, because I know that Knutson has come out and said that he won't leave during the season. So he would probably be my preferred candidate if I was to choose somebody.
Listen, I'm not going to. I would love to see Neil Warnock in just for some of the stuff that he comes out with. But Christopher, thank you very, very much for the call. Appreciate it as ever. Make sure you phone back in again. Brian, that was Christopher making the point about the youth. Before I come back, obviously, we'll probably talk about the youth right through this show, to be brutally honest with you. But Brian, last night, I think I said it on the reaction that it's possibly one of our worst ever European defeats. Certainly from memory. For me, just performance-wise, not result-wise, performance-wise, that was worse than Niederkorn. That was worse than just about anything I think I've seen from a Rangers team in Europe.
Yeah, it was pretty much every bad descriptive word you could imagine. Abject, lackadaisical, just everything that you could imagine. I mean, I was actually quite positive going into last night. I thought, right, Europe, it's a pass out of the league sort of, campaign. Europe, we usually do very well in Europe, certainly away from home. I was pretty positive last night, and then, as you say, 15, 20 minutes in, you could kind of see the writing was on the wall that early on in the game. And unfortunately, it was no surprise how the game panned out. You were always wishing and hoping that they would perform, but at the end of the day, you weren't surprised by the result, and you certainly weren't surprised by the performance. And that's, I mean, the manager's comment after the game, the players gave it their all and all this. I mean, I've never heard so much nonsense in all my days. I mean, I've seen that.
We'll come on to that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen better performances in, as you say, under 8s, under 12s. Young lads given their all. I mean, if that's the best that Stephen Davis thinks that the players can get, then we're up the river without a paddle. Simple as that. It's simply not good enough. The fans have made their feelings very clear. I think the Union Bears were actually wanting to speak to them last night, and that every player ignored them. So that says it all for me as well. They weren't even prepared to sort of man up and front up and say sorry and, you know, go over to the fans that spent a lot of money going over there, as they all do. So for me, yeah, performance was utterly atrocious. As you say, maybe not score-wise, obviously, but I think just the overall general performance was as bad as we've ever seen.
Kerr Bryan's saying there that he wasn't really surprised at the performance. I was, to be honest. We haven't played well. We've been poor. But I didn't expect that much of a complete abject performance from just about everybody bar Butland and possibly Seamer.
No, I agree with you, Martin. I thought we didn't play well at all, to be honest with you. Maybe the last 5-10 minutes when we were trying to chase something, but they weren't at the races the whole game. But I wasn't surprised. Do you know what I mean? I thought we would get a result because that's just me, obviously, my heart below my head there. But when you look back at the game, I wasn't surprised it was happened because these players have done it quite a lot, not just this season, but over the past. And that team, I'm not even going to say that team only good because that's a bit of disrespect for them because they beat us.
They're not a good team, Kerr. They're not a good team.
It's a team that we should have been not getting beat off of, put it that way. I'm not saying we should win it, but it's a team we shouldn't get beat off of.
No, that's a team we need to beat. That is a team. Listen, sorry to cut in, Kerr, but we've got another phone call in, and me and you could go back and forth on this for a wee while. So I'm going to bring in Alex in Heavensborough. Alex, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Martin. Thanks very much, mate. How's Brian and the rest of the boys? James and Scott, how are you guys?
Been better, Alex.
Not bad, Alec, not bad.
What's
Hey,
your,
well, I don't know where to start
for the
here.
guys?
I'll just see yesterday's game against Limassol. I expected Rangers to run all over them. I thought because we've now got rid of Yule, because we've got a Rangers man in charge, I'll all be up for it. And I could honestly, my prediction was 4-0 Rangers. I thought we were going to run all over them. See, by the end, by the final whistle, I was a very, very, very depressed wee person.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And I think, what do we have to do, or who do we have to bring in to get something out of this team? Now, I've heard tonight there's a couple of, well, you've always known who I've wanted. I'm not going to even say the name now, right? But I've heard the people like Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard would bring exposure to our club. All the English media would be watching every game and giving us all the extra, you know, the wee bits of, what do you call it?
Alex, sorry to cut in, right? But just on that, bud, right? I don't care about that. I don't care about that exposure anymore. I don't care if nobody outside of Scotland who wasn't a Rangers fan never watched us again. I don't want a manager in for exposure or marketing purposes. I want a manager in who's experienced, who's been there and done it before, and who's going to make this club successful again. That's all I want.
Okay, no problem. I'll take that. That's on board. So anyway, never mind. What I've now heard is that Lampard is not N-O-T going to be the next Rangers manager. Okay, he's definitely not. There's been media reports, I'll tell you that right now. He's definitely not. So, having said that, can we not get rid of this crap that's at the back of this? The old guard, as they call it. They call them the old guard. It's all of a sudden become the old guard. I'm disgusted by the way they're playing. I can't see any way forward for Rangers now unless we bring in some new blood. Why don't we do it now? Because we'll tell you what, we're stuffed for the league. We're stuffed. It was a miracle to get hold of Celtic now again. That's them away and running. We had our chances. We could have done it. We didn't. What's that in your back, Brian?
That would be Brian's cat. Listen, I'll take your point, Alex, to James, because listen, James has been very vocal about his feelings, a bit like yourself and a bit like many other people who call in. James, I think Alex is 100% spot on. That old guard, call them whatever you want. The players that have been here for a number of years now, your Goldsons, your Tavs, your Barisics, they need to go. Lundstrom, they have to go.
Yep. But the thing is, mate, who's going to take them? There's nobody out there that's going to come and pay money for them, mate. So for me, it's you either need to let their contracts run it, or we say thanks. But you know what I mean? You can't sack them, mate. That's the thing, doing. But you need to wait for somebody to come in to take them off their hands. But it's not going to happen. Totally agree. I think Tavernier is well past his sell-by date. Gets caught out far too much. Goldson just looks about, blaming everybody else apart from himself. I've never known a centre-half mate to duck when a ball comes into the box so often than him. The guy's an absolute bomb scare, but for whatever reason, I keep hearing he's our best defender. See, this crap, it's got to stop, mate, because it goes back to that old saying when we had David Bates. He was the best defender we had, and that showed you how bad we were. So we need to go. For me, I want to see a manager that's going to come in with fresh ideas. He's going to have that Walter Smith type aura about him. As soon as he walks into a dressing room, the players shut up and listen to him. See if you don't want to come along this ride, there's the door. You'll be in the reserves and you'll see your time out then if nobody will come and buy you, because you'll not play in this team unless you're getting 110%. I grew up watching leaders, Martin, like yourself, Brian, Kerr. I grew up watching guys like Terry Butcher, Richard Gough, Graham Souness, guys that would run through a brick wall for Rangers. And if you weren't doing it on the park, they certainly told you. And I'm not just talking about our captains. We had 11 leaders on the park. Even your McCoys, your Hateleys would get around these players and tell them, get your finger out your backside or something was going to happen. And that's what we need, mate. We need a nasty manager for me that's going to come in and tell these players a few home truths, because I'm sick of this. We can't tell the players. You can't go in and shout and ball at players now. Why? Why no? If they're not doing their job, you go in and you tell them a new one. Simples.
James, you grew up watching Moses McNeil. Stop trying to kid on you, never. That's who you grew up watching. Alex, what does the rest of the season then? I mean, regardless of who we get in as manager, right? Let's just assume that we get the right man in. What's the expectation now for the rest of the season? Oh, and Alex is gone. I'm seeing my producer. See, I've done the thing where I haven't looked at the chat. Is it Chris? Have we got Chris and Dunfermline on?
Yes, Martin, I'm from Dunfermline, yes, but I'm not a Dunfermline fan.
No, listen, I understood that. I'm just about to sack my producer, Chris. But there you go. How you doing, mate?
No problem. No problem, man.
What's your point for the guys tonight?
Right. Basically, my point is, man, I wish we were still talking about managers, because the problem I've got is we've done a rebuild in the summer, and you know I like talking about finances. We've done a rebuild in the summer, and this is in the next summer, you're looking at it's going to probably take 13, 14 players. I'm concerned is where's the finances going to come, because if you look at the back four alone, Coulson, Tavernier, Davis, they're hopeless. But to replace them, it's going to cost between 45 million each. There's 20 million on the defensive side alone. I reckon it's probably, for us to get a level player with them, I reckon you're looking at 40 million basic, just to even get on a leaving playing field. Because if you look at in summer, we spent 15 million, brought in 12, but did we invest that 12 in a winger? Did we invest that 12 in a centre half? And what annoys me, man, and deadline day, they brought 3 players in. One of them scored the first goal against Motherwell. They've already 3 players have already made impact. Mm-hmm. What did we bring in? Sweet FA. So my point is, we need to start talking about managers, because at the end of the day, if they haven't got the finances to compete, you can have Houdini, you can have Viola. Like you said, Matt, and you know me, I pay quite close attention to the financial side of it. I'm sorry, but until we can even match them across the city, because like I said, headline day, they had 3 signings, and all 3 have made impact. How much signings did we do? The proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, well, Chris, I take that on board, right? And Brian, I'll take that to you. But look, we were told that it was going to cost between 30 and 50 million to compete with Celtic when we first came back up, and it didn't cost us that much. It took a while, but it didn't cost us that anywhere near that for Gerrard to then go on and win the league. So for me, it's not so much about how much that we have to spend. It's about our scouting system, and it's about the players that we bring in.
Yeah, absolutely is. I mean, from day one, I've said I was never behind Dessers purely just on his goal record. I mean, that would scare anybody at Halloween reading those sort of stats. You know what I mean? And Lammers as well. His stats weren't exactly great either. And that, you know, and Beale said he scouted them and watched them and spoke to them and done this and done that. Well, I'm sorry. There's not a fan here. Not many fans I knew wanted Dessers when they seen his record, and spending $4.5 million on that sort of record was just preposterous. If it was a free transfer, you could take a punt on it, no problem. But spending $4.5 million on a guy that scored, as little goals as he did last season, albeit in a poor team in Italy, and they got relegated, but the numbers just didn't add up in the transfers, some of them this summer. It was ridiculous. And as Chris is saying, finances are obviously tight with every club, but we just seem to manage to throw it down the drain every summer and spend it on absolute rubbish. So it's where you go from here now. They're all on big contracts. Getting rid of them is going to be a nightmare. I've said for long enough, I don't know how many times I've said it on this pod, that the defence needed ripped up and started again. Barisic is seemingly getting a new contract. Well, if that happens, then that's just a joke. Tav, again, I've been his biggest supporter, but he's just looking very, very leggy and not being able to do the job that he once was. Goldson looks like he's towing a caravan, and the less said about Davies, the better. So that's a whole new bat line. So it's going to be an upward. I pity the next manager coming in.
I mean, Chris,
you're going across the city. They spent $0.5 million on a winger. They've got money across the city. They're spending it. The problem is we're not matching it, and then we're getting further behind. Like I say, we've done the rebuild. We are so far behind now. We're actually we're not playing a level. We're catch up. They already spent 25 million. They've got 9 players in the summer, and their 9 players, majority have hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're already 9 players ahead of us. So when we go in the summer transfer window again, we're paying catch up to already that 9 players, and they're going to have money in January. And then we go and probably get 3 or 4 good players. And in the summer, so the finances between us and them is ours. But what annoys me, if you look at it, it's all right having a great museum. Commercially, we're doing fantastic. But Ensign House, the sports bar, there's not, in the last 12 years, we've won 2 trophies. Majority of why we won 2 trophies, because across the city, they're spending 9 million on Vickers. They're spending 4 or 5 million on defenders. They're spending 3.5 million on a winger. They're spending 4 or 5 million on strikers. That's the difference.
No, it is. No, listen, listen, Chris, I'm going to have to let you go, right, because I've got about 5 calls backed up. But I completely take your point, and it's something that we will discuss. I'll try that again. We will discuss more of. But Chris, thank you very much. And look, I'll take Chris's point to you quickly here before my sexy producer brings in another call. I get that financially Celtic are a lot stronger than us, right? That's no secret. But for me, the gap just isn't down to simply finances. It's down to poor management, mismanagement as well. Get yourself off that mute.
I know. I was trying to press it, it wasn't working. Of course it is, Matt. I mean, we spent a bit of money. I mean, the guy was saying we only brought in, they didn't bring in anybody in a deadline day, but we done our business quite early by all accounts, and He was happy. He told us the players are going to raise the standard, and it all went pear-shaped apart from the keeper, Jack Butland, and probably the boy Sterling, who's not been given a chance. So nobody's got a chance to say, is he good, is he not good, because he came here and sat on the bench. The rest of them has not produced anything, and the players that are still there, it's like James says, Tavs, Borna, Golson, they're kind of past it, but you just can't kick them out the door because they're in the contract. Borna's contract runs out in the season, so does Lundstrom, so you don't have to renew theirs. And you manager will come in, will probably know what you knew them anyway. So that's 2 away, but the rest of them, it can be difficult just to get rid of them. And we're not a club that can have 4 or 5 plus no playing because they're on good wages. So that's going to be a difficulty. So you need to get a manager in that can. The scouting system at Rangers has changed as well. We've not got as many scouts. We use a company, which doesn't help matters. But we're just looking for somebody to come in with new ideas. Michael Beale with a lot of ideas, but they didn't make sense, some of them. He spoke in riddles. He contradicted himself. I mean, I couldn't understand Michael Beale at times, so the players probably were the same, but the players haven't helped himself either. So I think whoever comes into this team, they're probably in this team just now, whoever's been on the short list and thinking, I've got a job here in my hands. But he knows if he does it, he's got a good chance of going to a bigger league somewhere because you can see what happens. And he might come in and drop all these guys who are looking to be dropped. But you can only drop guys if there's guys here to come in their place. And you said the night, Martin, you just can't throw in all the kids. You can't throw in all the youth players. You can try some of them. You could try probably 4 or 5 of them, but you can't chuck them all in because that could go pear-shaped as well. And what you're left with angry first-team players that don't want to play for you, and you're left with youth players who have just suddenly get stage fright. So you kind of need a mix of both. So it just depends who comes in and what way he's going to point in this football club. I'll be looking for somebody to point us in the right direction and start going forward because we've not been going forward for ages. It's either sideways or backwards. It's a bit like the passing, but it's just not been going forward at all. Football-wise, off the park, yes, but on the park, no.
No. Listen, I agree. And again, the calls are coming in thick and fast, and we've got Andrew and Fraser on the line. I'll bring you in 2 seconds. Andrew, and we've also got D.I. Rebus Direbus, as I like to call him, who's put in a super chat, who we will get to after the phone call. So, Andrew, how are you?
I'm fine, Martin. How you doing, you and the panel there?
Do you know, your voice, for some reason, to me, is very comforting. So I'm kind of glad you phoned.
It's basically, I think I agree with your colleague Brian there, that I think whatever way you look at this...
Andrew, never agree with Brian. That's rule number 1.
Okay. Okay, Keir. The thing is that you're stuck with these players until January at least, whoever gets the job. Now, I read today in the papers it's due to a short list. We were told Frank Lampard and the lad Muscat, but I don't believe that. I'm not convinced Frank Lampard was ever more than somebody that they interviewed. Have you heard the stories that a Rangers high-profile sort of unit went down to London to speak to him? Have you heard that, you four?
I've heard horror rumours, Andrew, and I'll be honest with you, I won't believe any rumours until I see a guy standing with a scarf above his head being announced as a new manager, because you're going to hear all sorts of stuff.
I agree, and it's been 1 or 2. I mean, even Derek McInnes. Would Derek McInnes be that bad? I know James hated his name the last time we spoke because of what he did in the past, but, you know, would he be that bad when it comes to recruiting players, or do you think that's a non-starter as well?
I'm not even going to bother taking that to James because the language that was coming out of James' mouth before we started. So, Brian, I will take that one to you. Try and be nice to Andrew, Brian, but Derek McInnes.
I mean, I can see where he's coming from in the sense that McInnes his teams are always very well organised. I mean, the first game of the season was a prime example. He's put together a Kilmarnock team on a shoestring and basically, you know, worked with a squad for a matter of weeks and managed to get a tune out of them. So in that sense, there's the positive for McInnes in that sense. But as James has clearly pointed out in the past, that he's turned us down once and you don't ever get a second chance. So But I do take the point that McInnes is pretty good at assembling a team, and the work ethic of the team is good. But I think, as James has also pointed out before, that he has freely admitted that trying to beat Celtic is very difficult, and his mentality maybe not quite there to get to the top. So, yeah, that's as diplomatic as I could possibly be about Derek McInnes.
And that's absolutely fair enough. Andrew, what type of manager? And by that, I mean footballing style, personality, the whole package. What kind of manager do we need for this group of players that we've got right now?
I certainly remember Muscat, the player, and he certainly had the personality, and I would say the mindset. The Belgian lad they're talking about, who won the Belgian league 3 times on the trot, that's a winning mentality as well, and the guy understands players. The biggest worry, what sort of salary are some of these guys going to ask for, and transfer guarantees as well to bring players in, and that is why I was of the belief that maybe Lampard or the guy Ryan Lowe, maybe Preston might be the realistic option for James Bisgrove and co, because I just kind of see where the money's coming from to pay top salary and find another 10 million for players, in January. I just can't see it.
Andrew, thank you very much for the call. I normally speak to you behind the scenes as a producer, so it's nice to have you on the show for a change. Andrew, thank you very, very much. James, on that point for Andrew there, about being able to attract a decent enough name on a decent enough salary, I think it's got to the point now where the Rangers board, and I'm not talking about paying like 3.5 million a year for a manager, but it's got to the point now where we need to be looking at targets who are a bit above the wage structure that we've currently got in place for managers. We have to try and do something.
We've got to, mate. For me, mate, I think it's the job for Rangers. Obviously, I'm talking from a fan's point of view here, mate, but the pool of Rangers has got to be something out there for a manager that wants to prove himself. To obviously, because I think everybody wants to go to the Holy Grail down in England now, that you come up here and have a good couple of seasons. A team down there will take a chance on you. That's the thing. So I think the pool have come to manage Rangers, drag us out of this terrible time that we're having, and hopefully, again, I just want a manager, mate, that's going to come in with a clear sense of playing style. Under Bill, it just looked like it was past the body death. There was no outball for us. Our fullbacks are looking up, and there's nothing down the wings because everybody's all in the middle of the park. You know what I mean, mate? You can get a bed sheet area midfield at times, mate. Do you know what I mean? They're that close to each other. You just want a manager that's going to come in with absolute fresh ideas and say to these players, look, it's my way or the highway. See if you don't like it, there's the door. I know I've said that about 3 or 4 times tonight, but that's all we're looking for. We're just looking for somebody to come in that's going to set a standard now, because I think the standards went down that way. When I first started going to watch Rangers, it was under guys like Jock Wallace, and you daren't no come off that part leaving everything on there. Do you know what I mean? Because he would certainly tell you, and you could hear Big Jock at times screaming for the side to getting in about these players. But we just need a manager, mate, that's got to come in, fresh ideas, rip up the whatever notebook that Bill's left lying about, and just say to these players, right, you want to prove between now and the end of the season whether you should be kept here. Well, that's a decision that I'm going to make, but you need to prove it out on that park, and more importantly, prove it to the fans that you actually do care. You have got a bit of heart, you've got a bit of fight, and more importantly, you've got a wee bit more professional pride about yourself.
I don't think there's that many players left in that squad who have got any of the things that you just mentioned, which is probably the scary thing for me. Guys, get your phone calls in now, 01416287237. Do you want to chat about the game last night? Do you want to talk about St Mirren on Sunday? 5-1 St Mirren, by the way, with the bookies. Do you want to talk about St Mirren on Sunday? Do you want to talk about the new manager, the individual players, whatever you want to talk about? Then phone 01416287237. Come through to us and talk about it. Right, we had, if I can find it, Care, D.I. Rebus, Dyer Bus, with a £10 super chat. Thank you very much for the support. We built our new house on rotten foundations, clear out the old guard with a manager proven in this league, Care. A manager proven in this league, who could that be?
Surely looking at Derek McInnes, aren't you? He changed his fingers
I
on
mean,
his own.
D.I. Rebus, are you talking about Derek McInnes? Please let us know.
Well, I don't really see another one. Listen, Mark, the manager's going to come down to who. I know you said up the money for the manager, but you give him more wages, look for a bigger budget. And my point is, where's the money coming from? We can't overspend. We've done it in the past. We can't overspend, and we're in a place where we can only go for certain managers. It's at work for certain wages. If you go for somebody that's looking for £8 million a year, but we all think he's a great manager, we can't afford that. It doesn't matter how much we want him, we can't afford it. So he has to come into a price bracket. So that takes a lot of managers out of the equation. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't leave many to pick from, depending on who
Can we afford not to push the boat out even a tiny bit more than what we have here? Because the pool that we are swimming in, clearly the managers aren't of the quality that we need to move this club forward. So do we just stay in that vicious circle? Vicious cycle even?
Football's changed that much, Martin, for when I know James keeps talking about Wallace and Walter, and football's changed then. Football's totally different. I mean, I grew up going to see Jock Wallace, John Gregg's teams and Walter, but I don't like to look back because football has changed so much. Player mentality's changed so much. Everything's more finance than anything. And I'm even saying it's a good manager looking for £8 million. I mean, Sean Dyche was after £8 million because we supposed to spoke with his agent in the summer and he said £8 million, and Rangers just said his agent, that's not for us, that's for like their bracket. And Sean Dyche isn't the best manager out there, but that's the money these guys are commanding because that's what they think they're worth and that's what they think they can get elsewhere. So someone might not come up here just for the sake of, I'm not going to get a lot of money up there to be the Rangers manager. Do you know what I mean? So, and to get somebody experienced, then you're looking for somebody who's maybe failed other clubs, who's available for jobs. Do you want to go down that road? I mean, I said a while back when Michael Beale was sacked, I said I would go with Neil Warnock, right? And I know a lot of folk, he's not a lot of people's favourites. And I know because he's age, but I just said put him into the end of the season till it gives the board time to figure out what to do, because I don't want it to be rushed and then we're still sitting here 12 months' time going over the same stuff again because we've done it previously. Just because Warnock is experienced, he won a lot, but he is experienced and he's a bit old school. No, you can't go into a dressing room anymore and punch players, kick players, even shout at players because the mentality's changed and the laws have changed and stuff like that. So you have to go into a dressing room and talk to everybody individually. Some may like a bit of criticism, some may not. You see it in England, some players are on £200,000 a week and they get criticised and they go onto social media and start crying about stuff. You just have, football's changed. So we have to watch who we get. And I think with McInnes, I think Derek would do all right for us. He's not my choice, but I think Derek would do okay because he knows the league, but he's not my choice. But I would still think I would go with Kevin Muscat just because I was listening to something today about him and an Australian guy and he was saying that he's done wonders with the team he's with just now. And I know everybody will say because Andrew's there. Nothing to do with that. If Muscat didn't do well with, I can't remember the team's name now, with the team he's at, we wouldn't have been looking at him. Nothing to do with what they've done. But he's done really well. And I think you have to maybe, if you want to go outside the box, go that way. Go with somebody. I know he played with one season, right? But he won the treble that season. So at least he was here when we were winning. But go with somebody that's known in the UK, somebody out with, or even Janssen, or maybe not.
Right, you're jumping all different managers. We've got a phone call that I need to get to because you're just all over the place. So he was cut off last time. He's back now. Alex in Helensburgh. Alex, how are you?
I'm fine, Paul. Listen, I'll tell you what it is. I'll just deflect the whole situation right away back from what you're talking about now. And you can all relax, get a cup of coffee, get a wee drink, whatever it is you're drinking, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking about the now. If you were a professional football player playing for Rangers right now, do you think it matters what team you actually support? Right? Do you think it matters what team you actually support? Goldson, Davies, Tavernier, Barisic, right the way through the team. Who are their teams? Because it seems to me that not one of them supports Glasgow Rangers Football Club. And that's why we're seeing an indifferent shower of idiots turning up that don't give a damn whether they win, lose or draw. You surely need to support a team. You surely need to know more about a team. How much homework did they do in Rangers before they came here? Right, guys, that's my question to you, okay? I'll let you have a wee shot at that one.
James, I don't think it particularly matters what team you support, what club you support. I know there's quite a lot of footballers who simply just play football, and then once the football's done, they don't think about it because they don't particularly like football. They just happen to be good football players. For me, I don't care who Goldson supports, who Tavernier supports, as long as when they go out in the pitch, they give everything for the team. What about yourself? And by the way, I should caveat that with right now they don't.
No, for me, mate, did Brian Laudrup support Rangers? Paul Gascoigne support Rangers? Do you know what I mean? Two of the best ever players that's obviously played for the club. It's no, mate, for me, it's a mentality thing. I just don't think these players understand how big a club Rangers are. They've came from clubs down south that it's great to get a draw. You get beat, it's all right. When you come to Rangers, mate, you need to win. That's the biggest mentality job, mate, that these players need to have. You've got to have that winning mentality when you come to Rangers. And a lot of players will say that. You've heard Laudrup, you heard Gascoigne coming into the club and saying, we didn't realise just how big a club Rangers were. You know, you hear about them and blah, blah, blah. But you just don't realise just how enormous it is. You know what I mean? A draw is a disaster. For us, and getting beat is just it's no on the radar. So for me, it's not about supporting Rangers or whatever. It's about this bringing the right mentality of a player in that wants to win things, that wants to go at the end of his career and say, that's what I won, that's what I helped achieve.
I mean, Alex, I do take your point, though, right? And I completely understand where you're coming from, because if we had, 11 Rangers supporters on the park last night, of whatever ability that they were, then they would have played a lot better. I completely get that. But I just think if you've got players in who have the quality, who have the right instruction, it doesn't matter what team they support. But when things are going bad and down, like we've seen last night, then absolutely it has an effect. And David put a good comment in with Newcastle beating PSG, Newcastle hammering PSG. There was quite a few Geordies in that team. So I do think it does make a bit of a difference, but not enough for the shit show that we seem to be right now.
Yeah, absolutely. What a result that was last night. It's absolutely the highlight probably for me to see that score, considering we'd played them in pre-season. No, I just thought I'd run that one by you. It's just one of these things that's been bothering me for a wee while, I don't know where we're going to end up. I don't know. My head's loud. I cannot understand what's going to happen here next. The next man in has to clear this team out. He has to clear this team right out. And there's fireworks going off outside my house. So I don't know what that's all about. Early days, I suppose,
No, look,
immature fireworks.
You're absolutely right, Alex. He does. He needs to absolutely clear this team out. And again, that comes down.
And that's why I thought, like, I watched a programme today about Lampard, and he always wanted just to get rid of this old shite guard that's in the thing with. But he's not going to come here now. That's been confirmed. Mm-hmm. So Lampard's not the one. So I'm just going to go back to wee James down there looking at the telly, and I'll say, James, see when Derek McInnes is appointed Rangers manager, I'll come back on and I want to see your face, mate. Okay? Because that's the way it's looking now.
I won't be in the country.
Alex, thanks very much for the call, and please do come back on every phone in, because we love having you. But make sure you definitely come back on if Derek McInnes is appointed the Rangers manager, because I will have James on that show without a shadow of a doubt. Brian, well, I want to take it back actually to last night. We will touch on St Mirren in a wee second, because that is a game that I am really not looking forward to. The one thing I think was said in the build-up, and it was definitely said by me on the reaction, was that in no way do I want to make this about Stephen Davis. In no way do I want to, have a go at Stephen Davis or pick anything out that could possibly have been his fault. It's not his fault the players went out and performed like that. However, his post-match comments, I don't know if he was just caught up in the moment and he didn't really know what to say. And again, I don't want to have too much a go at the guy because he was thrown at the deep end at the last minute. But his post-match comments for me were horrendous at best.
Yeah, they were slightly naive, and as you say, he was thrown in at the deep end at the last minute. So I suppose we have to cut him some slack in the sense that he's not been there in that position very long. He obviously didn't have much to work with last night in the sense that the squad is depleted with injuries and everything else. So he really it was a poor post-match interview, but I suppose he's in the position.
He said he couldn't have asked for more.
Well, that's what I was just coming to. That was the comment that really hurt me. That he said that he couldn't ask for more. Well, I don't know a Rangers fan that actually thought they actually put in enough of a performance, because it was quite clear. I don't know how many minutes into the game, there was no way we were winning that game. Don't care what anybody says. We huffed and puffed. Balls getting thrown into the box. There was no sort of style to it. It was just a hopeful ball into the box, hoping somebody would get on the end of it. But I genuinely think that Davis was very naive in what he said, and I'll not hold it against him because he's only been there 5 minutes.
No, but he did. I mean, what he could have said was they couldn't have gave me any less if they tried. That would have been. But we'll come back to that in a minute because we've got Robert in air, who I think wants to talk about Glasner. Robert, how are you?
Hi, how you doing, guys?
Not bad. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm in air. I want to talk about Glasner. Yeah, I hadn't thought about this guy being mentioned. I was just looking through the usual load of manager names, and he was brought up. I didn't realise up until now that he was interested in the job. But so this is the one that apparently it was the manager of Rangers, Eintracht Frankfurt, when we were playing in the final. But I read a wee bit about him after that, and they're saying that they reckon he's very good at getting the best out of players that maybe aren't the best players. And it's the one that I've seen linked so far, and also I don't think it's going to cost any money. That might actually make a bit of sense for our team now.
Well, Glasner, I'll be honest, when I seen that breaking today that he was interested, I had to have a quick Google. I didn't have a clue who he was. I didn't realise he was the Frankfurt manager in the final. And from what I remember of that final, because I've kind of blacked it out, Frankfurt didn't particularly impress me in that final, to be honest with you. But then I don't know their budget. I don't know what players they have. And I don't really know anything about Glasner's managerial record, to be brutally honest with you. Your thoughts?
I mean, he's a big name, been thrown himself into the hat for the job. I mean, he done well with Eintracht. I know he left there, but he was interviewed for the Germany job, and by all accounts, according to some, he should have got it, but he never. So, and it was him that contacted, by all accounts, himself to say he's interested. I mean, he has a big name, he's got a good pedigree, but I think they've got a list there of 3 names, and I think that's going to be one of the 3 they'll go with. I don't think it'll be any more now, because I think they know need somebody in. Personally, like I said earlier, I don't want to rush it, because I want to be sitting here 12-month time doing exactly the same stuff we're doing now. But I think the board are ready with 3 names, and I think it's going to be one of these guys, and I think it's probably be announced probably next week at some point.
There's me doing the whole mute thing as well. Robert, do you think it actually makes a bit of a difference that this guy's put his own name into the hat, and he's not one who Rangers have just went and approached?
That's what I like about it, is the fact that if he's actually really keen to get the job, number one, and just the fact that they're saying that, I wouldn't say his record maybe he's not played and being a manager at enough clubs to say he's a fantastic manager. I don't see any red flags against him like you do Frank Lampard for a start. And I just thought that the fact that you see there that you can actually maybe get the best out of players, our average players, but we've stuck with that sounds like our entire team now.
Yeah, and yeah, it is. Robert, thank you very, very much for the call. Appreciate that. Please make sure that you phone in again. James, just quickly on Glasner again. Again, I'm that out of touch. I don't play Championship or Football Manager or whatever it's called anymore. And I don't watch a lot of football outside Scotland, to be brutally honest with you. So again, he was somebody who popped up who would never have come into my head. And again, if I hadn't Googled, I wouldn't have known who he was.
Well, I'm glad the guy told me who he used to manage, because I had no idea who he was, mate. So for me, I had no idea. I'd seen his name earlier on, and I thought, where's he? Is he Scottish? Is he? It was one of the ones. I have no idea who he is. Obviously, just listening to Kerr and stuff like that there, that I don't know, mate. What he can obviously bring to the table. He's obviously, as you said, mate, his Frankfurt team didn't look too good in the final.
James, I really was named, and look, I say this because I have blanked out most of that final, right? But again, we had quite a few players missing in that final, and I wasn't impressed with the way that Frankfurt, played or whatever. There was nothing that shouted out to me that they were a well-coached team.
Well-coached team, I know. Obviously, Kerr's saying that he's won things and stuff like that with him. He's obviously won the Europa League with Frankfurt. However, it's no. Again, it's not one of the names.
I know he's won a Europa League, and I'm saying I don't really know about his coaching ability.
But I think I put it into obviously the names that's on the list that I've obviously seen for the bookies and stuff like that, mate. There isn't any outstanding names on it. There's maybe 2 or 3 you would think, right, them. I definitely him, because he's got a style of playing and what have you. But him, again, mate, nah, I don't know. I don't know too much about him, so.
No, I know. That was a kind of long answer to say that you don't have a clue.
I have no idea who he is.
That was the podcast way of saying I don't have a clue. I think we've got another call coming in shortly, because I can see Robert panicking in the background. So I'm going to ask this question, Brian, right? And if we do have a call coming in, I'm going to do that as a wee signal, and you're just going to stop talking, right? Do we need to get, before the manager, a director of footballing?
Ideally, we would. Can't see it happening. They seem to be laser focused on getting a manager before a director of football. For me, it's the other way around. You get the director of football, who then goes for a manager.
See how professional that was there? He just stopped talking completely. By the way, have you done this before? Anyway, we've got Rab on the line, and I think he's putting all the blame on the players. Rab, is that right?
I wouldn't go aye, pretty much aye. I'm not going to lie. I would say that we've got these 2 managers. We've had Gio, we've had Michael Beale in, and that. And I'd quite honestly say that it gets to the point, right, where you can say that, yes, the manager's to blame for the tactics, for different sort of ways that he lines up the squad and everything like that. But that's 2 managers now. Most of these players that we've got have been in the team now for years, and we should have been rotating them, getting rid of them over the years. But I just think it's getting to the point now where these players are actually starting to just take the piss in that now. And it's, how many managers are we going to go through with the same players and that, and still the players seem to be like without any sort of responsibility, and that the manager seems to be getting the full brunt of the situation and that, and we are just still sitting there. They're just sitting there laughing at the managers, and it's starting to do my tits right in. You know what I mean?
Well, believe me, I know what you mean, and I've got big tits, Rab, so I know exactly what you mean. James, look, it's. I mean, certainly on this show, we've not been shy at digging out the players who we feel deserve to be digged out. But in terms of Gio going, Michael Beale going, it's the age old. It's so much easier to get rid of a manager than it is a bunch of players.
It is that, I know, and it's one of the.
So much.
Sorry, Rab, on you go, mate.
It's so much easier, right, at the end of the day, to get rid of a manager, because he's the easy scapegoat at the end of the day. You've got 11 players or 20 in a squad. and it's far easier to say that, aye, it's the manager that's the problem. But at the end of the day, these players have been here and it's them that's not playing to the maximum of their ability every game, and it's causing the managers their fucking job, and it's starting to do
What,
that.
Rab, actually, sorry to cut in on top of you, Rab, but what I would fire back at you is Dessers, Lammers, Seema, some of these players who have been...
I totally
agree signed by that man. I totally
agree with you. I totally agree with you. I think Beale in his own instance, in that he's brought in players that he thinks are better than the players that he's actually shipped out the door, and I think it's absolutely terrible, man.
Well, you've got Kolak. He shipped Kolak out, who scored 18 goals, and I know you were probably his number one fan, Martin.
I love
this time last year, the big man had 13 goals under his belt. Dessers has hardly had 13 shots in target. So it shows you the difference in these players. You know what I mean?
It absolutely does. Rab, I take your points are very, very valid, mate. Great. I think that's maybe the first time that Rab's phoned in. So, Rab, if it is, please make sure that you phone back in again. That was great. Thank you very much. It is so much easier just to get rid of a manager than it is to get rid of a bunch of players. However, a lot of the players that have come in and haven't worked out well have been signings made by Michael Beale. Quickly then, who will I go to? Right, James has spoke. I kind of cut Kerr off the last time, and I completely cut Brian off. So Brian, I'll go straight to you. St Mirren on Sunday, Brian, a game I am not looking forward to.
100%, totally agree with you. I'm really dreading this one. I really don't see us getting much out of this game. If the last two games are anything to go by, I really don't see us getting much out of St Mirren. St Mirren are a really well-drilled team. I'm kind of resigned until this new manager comes in. I really am. I've kind of just, I wouldn't say chucked a towel in, but I'm just kind of, until a new manager comes in, this players and this squad are not going to change their mentality for Stephen Davis. I don't care who it is. And until a new manager is in post who is going to, actually tactically work with them, or he decides that they're not fit for purpose and ships them out. But unfortunately, as many callers have said before, we're stuck with these guys till at least January. And even then, shipping them out is going to be the even harder job. So I really, as you say, I'm not looking forward to St Mirren at all on Sunday. And I really don't see us getting much change out of it, to be quite honest.
Final call of the night. And I do want to touch a wee bit more on St Mirren as well. So if you three will indulge me and maybe staying a wee 10 minutes late tonight, then we'll maybe go on to that. Blue Shadow in South Wales. Blue, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, mate, apart from the way the Rangers are playing their football these days.
What's your point for the guys?
Well, basically, I was about the manager, and rather looking forward than looking backwards. I think we need a manager that's more adaptable, and for that we need a more experienced manager, and a manager that's capable of putting up a system that suits the players that we have available, rather than, for example, we have like a Mark Warburton thing where the only plan is to do plan A better. And the name that I've come up with is Ralph Hasenhüttl. And I'm just interested what the boys think of him.
I mean, if you don't mind the odd 9-0 pumping. But no, in all seriousness, Kerr, Ralph Hasenhüttl. He seemed to do quite well at Southampton.
He did to a point, but he had a lot of issues with the players, didn't he? One a lot of players said he spoke down to them. He would do things and then do something opposite with telling them. It's just stuff, I don't know. No, for me. I think he's got a good pedigree where he comes from. Obviously, he's managed the English Premiership, but no, he wouldn't be the one I'd be picking. I just think we need somebody different. And like I said earlier, Martin, to me, it's going to be Kevin Muscat. I don't see us going anywhere else. So, but also, he'll get a job somewhere, but it'll not be us.
Well, maybe fair enough. Blue, I have to ask you, and maybe you don't want to talk about it, but I have to ask you, your thoughts for Sunday. How are you feeling about it?
For Sunday, well, I really reckon a lot of that comes down to Stephen Davis. If Stephen Davis is prepared to grasp the nettle, and I think if he wants to make himself a name as a manager in football, he's going to have to, because I've had rumours, and I suspect there's a little clique in the background, and there has been for the past two managers inside Ibrox, and I think he's got to step in there and make his mark, and he's going to have to drop a few players, because if he goes with the same players that he went with on Wednesday night, I think we're going to really struggle at the weekend. I think if he gets in there, puts in the likes of Suter and gets rid of for Goldson, I think Tavernier needs to have a seat as well, and basically sit on Lundstrom as well, and take those three for starters out, as in that's not good enough, and put in, I don't care who he puts in, but we need to put in somebody else and give those boys a chance. And so if you can prove it to me that you're the man, then you'll take that jersey.
Superb. Blue, thank you very, very much for the phone call. Make sure that you give us a call again. That is the phone lines closed. That was a busy phone in. We're going to just quickly have a wee chat about the St Mirren game before we go. But thank you to everybody who phoned in, by the way. The phone in seems to be getting busier and busier, which is great. And if it keeps getting busier and busier, then the show will eventually have to be extended. James, actually, just before St Mirren, we've got so much to talk about, by the way, right? But just before St Mirren, did that performance and result yesterday, and then I suppose does the performance and result on Sunday, does that make the need for this board to get a manager in quicker, or will the board still take their time? Or do you, personally, I think after that yesterday, I think the board probably wanted a manager in for Sunday.
I think so, but I've got to agree with Kerr, mate. We need to take our time in this manager, mate. If it takes them 2 or 3 weeks to get the right guy, take the 2 or 3 weeks. Don't rush an appointment, mate. We can't go down the same road, man, as having another pedal in the door. Because then, as Kerr says, we're going to be here again in another 12 months. Oh, what's this manager been doing? He's not been doing it. The players haven't been doing it for him. For me, it's got, as I said again, mate, the manager...
Can I just say quickly thank you to James? Sorry, he put that in ages ago and I forgot to bring it up. So thank you very much, James.
So for me, mate... It's got to be the right manager, mate. If they need to take their time, mate.
Yeah, and just quickly then, Brian, on Sunday, do we expect Davis to ring the changes? Because after the way he spoke, we've already discussed that, after the way he spoke about the game last night, the changes that he made throughout the game, which really wasn't much, do we expect to see what we all want to see on Sunday, which is a heavily rotated squad?
I'm not actually quite sure, to be honest. I don't know if he's going to stick with the sort of, I'm not saying tried and tested, but the senior players in the squad, or will he take a punt on the likes of McCausland that came on last night, and Bailey Rice that's played well when he's came in. I don't know. I'm so disillusioned just now. I'm seriously I'm really worried about Sunday. I really don't think we're going to get anything out of Sunday. The young guys deserve a chance. They've been patient enough and they've waited long enough. These senior players that are in there just now are not doing the job required. So if there's nobody else, you turn to the youth. And I'm afraid these young guys have waited long enough, been patient enough, sat on so many benches, and they deserve a chance. It's as simple as that. But one final thing before we go, Martin. Condolences to Sir Alex Ferguson's wife, Catherine.
Oh, absolutely.
Today.
Yeah.
The lady stuck by him through goodness knows how many football clubs, and how many missed him. He wasn't at home for a lot of the time, so couldn't have asked for a better wife for Sir Alex Ferguson. So condolences to the Ferguson family.
100%, and well said, Brian. Keir, we're not going to do predictions for Sunday because I'm a wee bit feared of what you guys would predict, to be brutally honest with you. But is this the first time in a long time, do you think, that we've went into a game and maybe there's quite a few of us don't actually expect to win?
No, I think we've been there this season, last season, probably the season before.
No, but genuinely, truly going into Sunday thinking St Mirren are in better form than us. We should have better players, but they're in better form, and we need to try and catch them in the league.
We do, Martin, and they are in better form, and they've got a manager who gets his players playing to their strengths, and it works well for them, and they have a shape about them. They play a 3-4-3, and they basically all know their role in that team, whereas you look at our team and there's no shape, there's no formation, and nobody the hell knows what they're doing, so you probably put them down as favourites. We will, because we're fans, but the bookies are always going to go with us. But listen,
can you believe, Kerr, the bookies have got them 5-1?
I don't, Martin, no, and it's worth a few bob, isn't it? But I hate betting against Rangers, but it is worth a few bob, I have to say. But because it's just one of the games where you just never know. Listen, I don't think it's a 1-1. I think it'll be a draw myself. But they've got a very good chance if they play the way they're playing. Last week against Kilmarnock, they weren't great, and Kilmarnock aren't great, but we know what happened against Kilmarnock when we played them. So anything can happen in a game. It depends on the Rangers team, man. This Rangers team are so far off it. It's a disgrace to watch. But it depends. I mean, people are saying the young players come in tomorrow. Some might, on Sunday, sorry. But Rangers Academy are playing tomorrow, aren't they, against Monaco? So probably if you look at who they play against Monaco, the team, and who's missing, the ones missing might be the ones that are involved on Sunday, but the ones who are playing might not be. But I don't think it'll change that much, because you've got to remember Stephen Davis is between a rock and a hard place. What he said the other night wasn't great, but some managers don't put their players, throw their players under the bus in front of the media. He's also not the manager. He's also just there helping out. He's still a player in earnest, and he's going to have to go back.
He shouldn't be interim manager then.
No,
if he's not.
But he was put in that position, and he's still going to have to go back in that dressing room with the players. So it's
just
difficult.
don't say that then. Just don't say that. You don't have to come out and say that the players were horrendous or whatever.
I actually never bothered me what he said, because we were bad enough in the park. It doesn't matter what he said. It doesn't bother me. He's not going to be the manager, so it doesn't bother. If he was a manager, it'd be different. He's not going to be the manager. But it's just, we're in a position now. It doesn't matter who says something, who does something. We're criticising everybody because we're poor. We're poor all over the park. We're poor behind the scenes. The only thing that seems to work is we're opening a new sports bar next year.
Oh, listen, no. Brian, jump in quickly.
Bearing in mind, if results go as bad as they should possibly go on Sunday and we lose, Hearts win, Motherwell win, we're down to 5th. And then
thanks for that, Brian.
We're miles back. That, I'm just saying.
Right, I'm going to get a couple of super chats and then we're going to go. But I need to get to these super chats because somebody's been very complimentary. Jim McLeod, £2 super chat. Thank you, Jim. Tremendous entertainment, lads. Well worth the £2. Thank you for the support. And channel member and very good friend Brian, St Mirren win. There's my bet with Brian's super chat. So I think a lot of people might be on that for the bet. But listen, folks, that will do us tonight. It's been a great show. It's been good to be back in the hosting chair for one of these phone-ins. It's been a while. My thanks to Brian, Kerr, James, everybody in the comments, all the callers, all the people watching at home. Thank you very much. And all the people listening back as well to us on our audio platforms. We'll be back on Sunday for all the build-up.
You've forgotten somebody, Martin. He's going absolutely apoplectic at the bottom of the screen.
He's what?
You've forgotten to thank somebody else. He's going absolutely mad at the bottom.
You know, sorry. And the producer, Robert. Thank you very much.
He's
Robert.
Going nuts.
I'm going to tell him what a good job he's done once we're finished. I'm not going to give him credit on screen. No chance.
Wally's will be flying with his stuff, Martin.
I know, there goes my free flight to Turkey. That's out the window, innit? Right, okay. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back on Sunday for build-up to the St Mirren game and then, of course, reaction as well. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I've really, really enjoyed it. It's been quite cathartic. I will say that. So thank you, everybody, and we'll speak to you soon.